Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Stephen and I got married in a prison visiting room. He shot 4 people. He made a mistake.
He was in for violent crimes. Does he love you?
His soul is dead and his heart is black. That's what he says.
If he says, we're going to rob an armored car today.
We're robbing an armored car. I would drive off a cliff with this man.
So you're ride or die.
Ride or die.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
You know, Charles Manson once bragged from prison that all women want him. And he's not the only notorious criminal with a ton of female groupies. The Menendez brothers, Scott Peterson, accused Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz, and most recently, convicted murderer Chris Watts, have received female fan mail and even marriage proposals from women around the world. Take a look.
His crimes were unspeakable, the murders of his pregnant wife and 2 little daughters. Yet 33-year-old Chris Watts is actually receiving love letters.
Stacks of love letters are now piling up at the Broward County Jail.
It may be hard to believe and even harder to stomach, but teenage girls are sending letters to the suspected mass murderer, Nicholas Cruz.
Stephen Avery has become the world's strangest sex symbol now. He's receiving up to 40 letters a week in prison from women lining up to be his next wife.
Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and wife killer Scott Peterson all received love letters from women. Now Chris Watts joins that notorious list.
You know, it seems strange, but it does happen. And our guests today, Alex and Susie, say they both have fallen for convicts behind bars, and they know what they've done. Susie even married her prison pen pal. Now, we'll talk to her in a bit, but first, Alex's sister Jenna is desperate to help her sister, who is speaking with at least 7 convicted felons. But that's not all she's doing. Jenna said Alex is going broke trying to buy the love of these dangerous men. Take a look.
3 years ago, my sister started dating convicted felons.
I do date bad boys. Currently, I'm dating 7 convicted felons.
These prisoners are violent.
I know all of their crimes. Heroin distribution, cocaine distribution, kidnapping. One of them chopped someone's fingers off with a machete, and attempted murder. It doesn't bother me that they're violent offenders.
My sister meets these guys on websites that connect prisoners to women.
I like the Southern Hispanic, tatted up, bald-headed gang members. I like their looks, their personalities, and the rules that they follow. I've sent money to every man that I'm dating that's in prison. It's once or twice per week, per person. It's kind of a different schedule with each one depending on if they're federal or state custody. I've probably sent a total of close to $50,000 in 9 years.
She slowly is going into debt. They'll have food before she can pay her light bill. Alex sends the prisoners money to buy food, tablets, shoes, cologne, watches, clothes.
What you doing?
I'm at the mall. What are you doing?
Demands on my time and resources are extreme.
The past couple days, I've gotten one of them shoes and cologne, and I am running errands for another one.
There's 3 men that I do actually love. The ones that I tell that I love, they don't know that I talk to other men. Oh, they will find out, yes. The Dr. Phil show is very popular in prison.
The guy I'm talking to in Ohio is calling right now. Hello?
I take 4 to 5 phone calls per day from prisoners. I send and receive about 25 to 50 emails per day. Once I've established a relationship with them, I do feel obligated to continue it.
I drove from Arizona to California to see one of the men that just got out of prison. That's the definition of ride or die, and I'm definitely ride or die for that one.
I don't ever date in the real world. I've not been on a date in 7 to 8 years. I don't know how to talk to men or have normal relationships.
I'm very worried that they could hurt my sister, get her on drugs, kill her, or even take all of her money and she's homeless on the streets.
Well, Jenna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Your sister Alex is supposed to be sitting right there.
Yeah.
But she's not. Why not?
She's a little nervous.
Nervous? Well, I understand that. I'm a nice guy. And she has some questions, so I don't know, maybe she'll come out, maybe she won't. Are you concerned that she is engaging with, interacting with these known criminals? That bothers you?
Yes.
I've kind of done a little bit of background on them, and she has 7 that she's interacting with. One, Jay, he's out, right? And he was in for counterfeiting, drug transport, and kidnapping. Edgar is in for attempted murder. Faustino, 2 carjackings. Carlos, felony with a gun and theft. Oscar, transporting coke. Mike, cut somebody's finger off with a machete. Eric, heroin, theft, receiving stolen property. Now, you say that she gives these men how much money a month?
Probably maybe $100 to $200 a month.
Each?
Yes, maybe less than that, but
Okay, but $500-600 a month she's shipping off to these guys.
yes.
And can she afford that?
I don't meddle in too much in her bills, but I think she might choose their well-being over her well-being.
Okay. Why do you think she's pursuing relationships with these individuals instead of somebody that lives down on the corner, or somebody she might meet at church, or somebody that, you know,
Well,
just...
when I ask her, because I wonder the same thing, she says, I don't have to see them. You know, I keep them at arm's length distance. But then she did meet one of them, and then it ended badly, but now it's doing well. And she did go on a couple dates, they all ended badly. And I tell her, you know, there's plenty of fish in the sea. We've all had bad dates.
Let's ask her. Would Alex like to come out? I'd love to talk to her if she would. Oh, she does? Okay. Alex, come on out if you would. Hey, good to meet you. Have a seat.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I totally understand being nervous. I mean, you're on television, and but I'm a charming guy, so. But take a minute and look around. I mean, it's a different.
I don't want to look around.
You don't want to look around? All right, that's okay. How did you choose to do this instead of maybe having a long distance relationship overseas or something? How did you choose prisoners?
9 years ago, I met one,
Right.
and he kind of just started all this.
Yeah. Do you ever go see them?
No.
So it's all pen pal.
It's all pen pal.
But do you talk to them on the phone?
Yes.
Oh, so you do get to talk to them on the phone?
Yeah.
What's the rule on that? You get to talk to them how often?
Whenever, some of them can call all the time.
Oh.
Some of them are on 23 out of 24-hour lockdown, so they can call periodically.
We're talking about kidnapping, attempted murder, carjacking, machetes. We're talking about some bad dudes here. Does it bother you that they've committed crimes of violence against other people?
My sister Alex has sent semi-nude photos to men in prison.
I have sent photos of myself in bra and underwear to a prisoner. He asked, so I sent them.
Who else is seeing them? I think these men are even passing these photos around.
So I don't worry about him doing that.
I'm very embarrassed. Who knows what pictures she sent of the family, of me. This could potentially put my life at risk too.
Does it bother you that they've committed crimes of violence against other people?
No, I have a no judgment policy, so I'm a messed up person as well, so I don't judge anybody.
Yeah. You figure they've made bad decisions and you've made bad decisions in your life.
Yes.
If they got out, would you necessarily want to pursue a relationship with any or all of them?
A few of them, maybe, but one of them's back in the picture that's out right now, so.
And you were with him this week?
I was with him, yeah.
And how does that feel? You had a relationship for how long while he was in prison?
We were on and off for 9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
How much did you think you got to know him during that 9 years?
I know him like the back of my hand.
And once he was out, how much did that fit what you thought he was going to be like when he got out?
It did change, but I kind of knew it would. So I kind of always, my sister says no expectations, no disappointments.
But I mean, you think he's going to be a certain way. Like I've talked to people before that I only knew over the phone or something in business or whatever, and I met them and they were like totally different than I thought they were going to be or the same. How was it with you for him? Was he what you anticipated or completely different?
Half and half.
Yeah.
Half and half.
So some things were different.
Yes.
Did he show you the respect and attention and all that you would want a man to show you?
He did, but he was also showing that to someone else. So when I went through the phone records, that's what led me to
So
my friend.
when we were just talking about that, do you think he was talking to someone else while he was in prison?
No, because he was in federal prison and the minutes are monitored, and my crazy self was monitoring our minutes. So every time he would call, I'd log it to track our minutes.
Okay. And you sent him a fair amount of money over 9 years, right?
Close to $50,000.
$50,000. Okay. And do you regret that at all?
No, I don't have a lot of regrets in life.
Okay. So, I mean, when I say regret, now that he's out and you know him and you know that there is somebody else involved, would you like to have that 50 grand back?
No,
Not even a little bit?
no. Just like you don't loan money and expect it back, you just, I don't ever
I
loan.
do.
Oh, no.
I mean, if you give somebody something, that's one thing. If I give them money, that's one thing. But if I loan it to them, I damn sure want it back. I'll keep their kid till I get it. But no, so that was a gift. So you gave it with no strings.
Correct.
So you're okay with that. And you're giving some money now to prisoners.
Correct. Nothing like I do for him.
Right. So you took the big plunge with him. You're not going to do that again.
Never.
Okay. Well, we got to take a break. Coming up, Alex says she knows that she could well be destroying her life with her prisoner obsession because it's crowding out other relationships that she could be pursuing, and the clock is ticking on life, right? I mean, if you spend a year talking to people behind bars, that's a year you didn't spend nurturing a relationship with someone that you could have been going to the movies with or whatever. We'll talk about that next, and if that's something that she really wants to change. We'll be right back.
My sister's self-esteem is horrible.
The reason I like dating prisoners is because you never have to see them. I used to be a lot bigger and I lost a lot of weight, but I still don't have that confidence.
My sister has always been attracted to men that have been beneath her. She has no self-worth, and she's looking for any happiness with these prisoners.
Well, Alex says she's jeopardized her life for these men, but she can't abandon these prison loves. She does feel a commitment to them. And her sister Jenna says Alex's obsession is really all consuming. And what do you mean by that? You think she's pushing other stuff out of her life in favor of them?
We get in the car and it's just, let me email them. Well, why don't we, wait so we don't get into an accident? Well, they only have certain times on the emails. Then when we go to my house, she comes over every day and then she sits and takes phone calls. We'll eat dinner and then she'll leave.
So you think it's actually affecting her relationship with you?
A little bit, yes.
Why 6 or 7? Are you currently looking to add?
No. So the one that's out, we'll be living together. So everyone else is going away. He will take precedence over everyone else.
Oh, you're going to live with this person. He was in for what crimes? Were they violent crimes?
Yeah.
Did he go through any experiences that would cause you to believe that he's not likely to do that again?
He'll go back to prison. It's a pattern for him.
So you think you'll be with him for a period of time and then he'll go back in?
And then I'll just resume my prison wife status with him.
Why is that okay with you?
He's loving my life.
Does he love you?
In his own little twisted way, as much as he can love me. His soul is dead and his heart is black. That's what he says. But yes, I'm very special to him.
His soul is dead and his heart is black, and you're special to him. Are you concerned that he might commit a crime when you're with him?
Yes.
and I wouldn't exactly say no. I would drive off a cliff with this man.
So you're ride or die.
Ride or die.
What concerns me for you is that, one, it really smacks of codependency, and two, it tells me that you don't value yourself enough or love yourself enough where you would say, hell no, you're not going to do that, because as you know, certain laws in certain states for certain crimes, if a capital crime is committed, if he takes a gun and he kills someone during the commission of a crime, and you're even in the car,
I'm going to jail for life.
Then you go down the same way he does.
9 years ago, he asked me for unconditional love. I've given him unconditional love.
And what did he give you?
That's what I say.
What headaches?
I mean, what did you get back? If a man loves a woman, he would never put her in jeopardy.
Correct. I'm aware of that. But it's different because he's always told me that he'll always keep me out of harm's way. But if you're going, I'm going. We going. And that's how I feel. And that's some stuff we talked about last night. If you're jumping, I'm jumping.
So if he says, okay, I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck for this crummy 9-to-5 job, we're going to rob an armored car today, you're loading up and going.
I'm going to talk to him, but if we're robbing an armored car, we're robbing an armored car.
There's been a lot of research done about why women do get involved with prisoners. One is they want to share in the infamy and the intrigue. Second is to become a fellow criminal with this noble bad boy. You know, here I've got this bad boy out there, and I'm going to join. I'm going to go with him and become part of this. It's going to be a team. We're going to be criminals together. Almost always, they've had an abusive father, and they define love as abuse.
Yeah, not my case.
Pardon me?
No. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say abuse, but I would say, was he there in the right aspects? Not at all.
My dad threw money at me. That's how my dad loved me. Here's a check. Go have fun. Get out of my house.
And the relationship is safe and distant, which you said. The inmate is romanticized as a mysterious power figure. You know, if you fit one of those things, it's a problem, and you fit 3 or 4 of them. Well, coming up, we're going to add someone to this conversation. Susie has devoted her life to a man serving 43 years behind bars. So what did he do? We're going to find out when we come back, add to this conversation, and see if these 2 women maybe have some wisdom to share with each other, because they're kind of doing the same thing. We'll be right back. Alex is not alone in loving an outlaw. There are more women that do this than you would think. One of those is Susie. She found her criminal love online and even married him. Take a look.
I met Steven on a pen pal site called goodprisoners.com, and it all kind of started from there.
This call will be recorded and monitored.
Have I told you yet how much I love you?
Yes, you did, and I love you too.
Let's kiss. Mwah.
Mwah.
On his prison profile, it states his criminal history, 1st-degree assault, and his sentence is 43 years. He was 20 years old at a party under the influence, and he shot 4 guys with a shotgun. Nobody died. He made a mistake, and he regrets it, and he is remorseful. We finally met after about a year of writing. I had never been inside a prison before. I knew that I loved him the very first time I met him. Steven and I got married in a prison visiting room. We even got to dance, and it was real special. So far, Steven and I have had 3 wonderful conjugal visits. Steven and I have talked about having kids, and we've decided that we want to wait. People ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up. I always said I wanted to be a mom. We're putting that on hold just because of the situation. If Steven gets out on his release date, he'll be 58 years old. It is kind of old to be starting a family. It can be difficult being married to someone in prison. I do get lonely. I'm thinking of you, and you are in my heart, as always, snuggled up in there.
I'm thinking of you as well.
I do sometimes dream of having more of a conventional marriage. I hope to one day have that with Stephen when he gets out of prison.
Well, Susie's mom, Penny, was completely in the dark about Susie's nuptials until after the fact.
When I learned that Susie had married a man in prison, I was shocked. This is not what I expected Susie to grow up and do. I do not approve of this marriage. I can't see it's doing anything but tear Susie down. I don't know the extent of Stephen's crime, why he's in prison. I've met Stephen in prison, and he seemed nice, but he also seemed like he was telling me everything I wanted to hear. I feel like Stephen was manipulating me. Stephen has the personality of a wife beater. He goes into rages on the phone, and Stephen sometimes goes months without calling or getting in touch with her because he's just giving her the silent treatment, and that's very hurtful. I wouldn't like Susie to get pregnant. I don't think prison is any place for a child. I have told Susie she should get divorced, and she agreed. And I paid for the proceedings. She had papers served to him, and he just wrote on it, return to sender. Susie is setting herself up for a very lonely existence. I feel like it's a failed marriage between Susie and Stephen. It's going nowhere.
Okay, thank you two for being here. You've been listening to everything we've been talking about so far, right?
Yes.
And you're kind of concerned for your daughter like Jenny is for her sister. Mm-hmm. You were listening to the things that Alex had to say. Why a prisoner?
It's a difficult situation, and I didn't plan on it. I was initially gonna have a pen pal to a man overseas, in Iraq, and then all of a sudden I saw a prison pen pal ad on the side, and that's what led me to that. I clicked over. Total opposite things, but.
Right. And how long did you two go back and forth before you got married?
We wrote back and forth about a year and a half before we actually said I do.
Uh-huh. How long were you married before you knew it?
Probably 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
And she let me know what was going on.
What'd you think when you found out?
I was speechless. I was so shocked.
Are you concerned at all that your life is going to go by for 35 more years or whatever it is before he has a release date, and all the things that a husband and wife share together, the experiences, children, having dinner together every night, watching kids grow up, going to their baseball or soccer games, all of those things are just written off for you?
Of course. It's difficult to think of that.
You were listening to the tape, right? And you heard that she's having conjugal visits. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
It worries me that she might have a baby, might be pregnant, and raise this baby to know that her father in prison, and that the child might think that that's the norm when it's not.
Coming up, what does Stephen have to say about all this? He'll be joining us by phone when we come back. Stephen's actually on the phone.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh. Can you hear us right now?
He can. Joining us on the phone is Susie's husband of 5 years, Stephen. He shot 4 people at a party, is currently serving 43 years in prison for 4 counts of first-degree assault. Stephen, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I understand you have a limited amount of time, so we'll, of course, respect that. You've been listening to a little bit of this, I know. How do you think this is going to work long-term? How much more time do you have to spend?
I have approximately 12 years left.
What's the likelihood that you'll get out on that date?
Not very good. I believe I'll be out in less than 5.
So less than 12 years, so you think you'll be out sooner?
Yes.
How do you get along with Susie right now while you're in and she's out? How do you two get along?
90% of the time, we get along excellent. It's just when certain triggers come into the marriage, I don't know how to cope with them, so I just withdraw
Her mother, Penny, is concerned that you are, in her terms, really mean to her daughter at times.
I can definitely understand the perspective, because when I go weeks without calling her, I understand that that can be considered emotional abuse, and I wasn't aware of that.
Are you involved with any other women at this time?
No, I'm not.
Have you been since you've been in?
Since I've been in, yes, but not since Susie and I have been married.
Have you threatened her with that?
I have.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that when he threatens you with that?
It's heartbreaking.
You heard me talking to Alex, and she said she's a ride or die girl.
Not me.
That
Not in that aspect. Not to the extent that she mentioned earlier. I would not support that. No.
Right.
No. Dr. Phil, if I may just say, yeah, I would never put her through that. And she's been through so much just getting involved with an incarcerated man. She is not your stereotypical woman that gets involved with these type of relationships. Throughout my 25 years of incarceration, I've seen many of them, as you know and as you've documented. And there's so many contributing factors to our relationship that shatters the typical stereotype. And when we got to our lowest point where we were considering a divorce and Penny was willing to pay for it, that's when we just really decided, because I told her, look, if you want to move on, I support that. I'm always going to love you for what you've given me in prison. And she didn't want that. We committed till death do us apart.
I'm very mindful of your time. I don't want them to cut us off mid-sentence here.
Dr. Phil, we got plenty of time. I was sentenced to 43 years.
Yeah. But I know what it's like to hear a dial tone. What has happened? What have you learned? What has changed that would cause me or someone like me that's trained in forensic psychology to predict that you're not going to pick up a shotgun and shoot 4 people again?
Dr. Phil, you're such an educated man and well-versed in all these things that you can just look at my actions, my characters, the way I conduct myself, the way I treat my wife, the way I treat other people. Now, I know that you're focusing on the negative aspects of our relationship, but if you focus on the positive aspects of our relationship, I think that right there will speak in volumes. Because I can sit here and give you all the right answers. But I would encourage you to look at the tangible truth that lies within my actions over the last decade as I transformed my mind and changed my behavior in a sincere way where I treat everybody with dignity and respect.
Where do Susie and Alex go from here? I'm going to tell them what I think right after the break.
Sometimes during difficult moments, Steve and I struggle with conversations. I do get a feeling inside my heart that he might be using me. And it's painful to even just speak of. I still have that fear that when things don't go his way, he's just gonna call it quits with me and move on. And he's threatened that before.
Susie says that despite all the challenges of having a prisoner husband, she always knew in her heart she would marry Stephen. Alex, too, is involved with prisoners and is moving to California, intending to live with a man that she says, no doubt in her mind, will go back to prison sooner or later because that's just who he is. You know, both of you have made the decision that you're willing to make a huge sacrifice of your lives by engaging with someone that has got a very questionable history, and you've given up a lot of companionship because they were locked up. My question for you is, you know, Stephen has said he thinks the waiting room is an okay place for children, that would be okay.
It's the only prison visiting room I've seen, and it's big and light, and it's like a school cafeteria, kind of.
But it's not, it's a prison.
I know. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, and that he wants you to make him a millionaire.
That's true. He has high expectations, and he's very ambitious, and he has dreams.
But he wants you to make him a millionaire.
He does. He wants me to help. Yeah.
He has ambitions for you to make him a millionaire. How do you feel about that?
It's difficult sometimes, but I don't want to be a wife who, I want to be a wife who supports his dreams.
Right.
And helps where I can. And he needs help from the outside.
Right.
So.
And you have a daughter, correct, that you placed for adoption earlier in life, but it's an open adoption, right?
Yes.
And the woman that adopted your child is Judy.
Yes.
And Judy, where are you? You're right here. You agreed to an open adoption, and you've known Alex for years, right? So you're concerned with her dating situation, right?
Absolutely.
And does this inform your decisions about visitation and
Absolutely.
access to your daughter? Does this really concern you?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So will that limit access and increase monitoring and all when there is?
It just won't happen.
Now that she's going to move in and live with this man, what do you do? What do you do about visitation? What do you do about her access?
There will not be any visitation.
It's just a high-risk situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are you prepared to deal with that sacrifice?
Out of sight, out of mind. That's how it's been.
You and Stephen plan to get pregnant while he's in prison? Are you going to do that?
We've discussed it, and we want to wait.
You both date prisoners. Why do you
I
think...
just dated one prisoner.
Oh, well, you're married to a prisoner.
Yeah.
You're married
Just
to
wanted
a
to
prisoner.
clarify.
She's getting ready to move in with a prisoner. You know there are problems you're going to have to work out. And he says as he gets closer to release time, that there can be therapeutic resources involved. Can you be part of those therapeutic resources?
I hope so. I would like to be.
I mean, if that's possible, would you do that? Would you
For sure.
would you work on that?
Yes.
Because you didn't do that before you got married, but you can do it before he is released, right?
Yeah.
And Stephen, you're back on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that you two can participate in some marital work while you're in prison? If I provided the two of you with a protocol that you two could work on together while you were in prison, would you do that together?
I would absolutely love that, Dr. Phil.
Because I can do that. I can provide you with a protocol the two of you can do together from different locations while you're in prison. And it would be very, very helpful, and I think would open both of your eyes as to whether or not this have a real chance going forward. And if you do everything in it, it will cause you to have a much better chance of making this if you're going to make it.
I would love to do that.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen, I'm going to do that. And Alex, do you think that it's possible that your self-esteem, your self-worth is distorted in your view to the point that you're making bad decisions?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you think that if you got help with that to where you valued yourself more, that it might change some of the decisions you made?
I don't know. I don't. I'm a very messed up person.
But are you willing to try? Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
If I got you some professional help, where you were able to really focus just on you, not on the relationship. I don't want to get you couples therapy.
Right.
I want to get you where you can selfishly focus on you, how you value yourself, how you view your worth. You would do that.
Yeah, I would try it. I would give it a go.
Okay.
I'm a very twisted person, Dr. Phil.
Well, I'm a really good untwister. Okay? We're out of time for today. I hope you found this interesting. I want to thank all of my guests today. I want to thank Stephen for joining us from prison. Stephen, thank you. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can tell us what you think on Facebook and Twitter. I think there's going to be a lot of chat about this. Don't forget to subscribe to my new podcast called Fill in the Blanks. It's free. You just go to podcasts, click on it, hit the subscribe button, and it will tell you every time a new interview comes out. And that happens every week. And I'm talking to some really interesting people about really interesting things. We'll see you next time.